Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from Usher Coming Home. The odd thing I've noticed about Usher's career renaissance the past year or so, it's less a change in what he's doing and more recognition that the culture hadn't been giving him enough attention for whatever reason. Yes, I know, he's very much riding on his legacy at this point. That's how you get a Vegas residency and performing at the Super Bowl to persistent acclaim. And sure, the classic albums are decades behind him, but I'm willing to bet that most folks outside of R&B or the diehard fans, they aren't familiar enough with his albums to really articulate why he slipped out of mind. And well, the truth is that even including his classics, Usher albums are nearly always too long, singles heavy, and wildly uneven, even the great ones. And while I might appreciate his charisma and goofier side, and the occasional ridiculous vocal showcase, you often have to wade through a lot to get to the best moments, especially as Usher's record with more contemporary production can be very hit and miss. That 2018 collab with Zaytoven is the most glaring example, and personally, I definitely overrated Hard to Love back in 2016. But hey, he seemed ready to meet the moment with this new album, and you know what, I'll give Usher this. He sounds more tangibly engaged and comfortable on this album than he has in a long time, and that immediately makes this a lot easier to like. But it does not get away from the usual Usher album issues. Now for starters, like with Hard to Love, there are songs that feel like they've been added to pad out the runtime and really didn't need that. Risk It All with Her from The Color Purple, it's one example that I might have liked if the vocal mixing was remotely consistent, as is that Standing Next to You Jungkook remix. And you know what, from at least a content standpoint, it's hard not to think that there are a few redundant songs that could have been trimmed out. I don't know why anyone thought Margiela was a good idea beyond just being a commercial. I am fine with Usher sticking to his wildly detached, over-the-top melodrama than modern brand name porn. And that's before we get to the cuts with some sloppier mixing, over-processed vocals, and even rapping that remind me more than they should have of Chris Brown on songs like Stone Cold Freak and Luckiest Man. It doesn't surprise me Usher is trying to stay current, but it's hard to escape the feeling that he is chasing a sound that doesn't exactly flatter him, rather than forging more of his own sound. And by the time you're in your mid-40s with a cemented legacy, plenty of hits, and really dignity, you don't have to do that. Now the most obvious example, it is probably A-Town Girl. Yes, with the Billy Joel sample, it is as ridiculous as you can imagine. I unironically really like the over-the-top silly vibe and how much Usher just committed to the bit until Latto's verse just killed the energy. But a song like Big is actually a lot worse, with the other side of that Vegas cornball energy with the wonky horn section balanced out with the synth bass and some truly embarrassing lyrics. We did not need Carry Out Part 2. Now on the other hand, I think Usher's collabs with Afrobeat artists like the title track with Burna Boy and Ruin with Pheelz, they're actually really good in giving him more supple, organic groove. And when he gets co-writes from Lucky Day on Please You, or from Demille on One of Them Ones and I Love You, it taps into a more mature and modern side of R&B that, quite frankly, I wish Usher could make more of, alongside the solid Jermaine Dupri cuts. Then there are the pop songs with some of those sharper, synth-pop inflected beats. Look, I grew up with Usher in the club boom era. This is a very easy sell for me, probably more so than a song like Cold Blooded with The Dream. That sounds like a 2012 retread from The Weeknd. And if all this is coming across like Usher is trying to prove that he can do pretty much everything, well, for the most part, on talent alone, he can, but as an album experience, it's a lot more of a scattered collection than a cohesive whole. And you know what, that makes sense too. That's been the Usher experience, especially on albums, for nearly 20 years. And to his credit, as an old school consummate showman who can just wow you on pure talent, this is a more colorful and engaged version of Usher playing that mainstream game like he always has. And it's hard to deny that in this vein of pop and R&B, he can do what everyone else does as well, if not better. I think my frustration is that I know he's got the talent to push his formula to more ambitious heights, get a little bit more unique or conceptual. I mean, Confessions proved that in spades. So that the mainstream would come to him, not the other way around. But you also have to judge the album you get, not the one you want. And as it is, it's tough to put his projects on a scale because 8701 and Confessions, they're just in a different tier compared to everything else. But accepting the usual Usher album issues, and how I'm not sure there is a jaw-dropping standout cut like Climax or Good Kisser on this project, I still would call it one of his stronger albums. The fans will adore it, non-fans will probably find something to like, and while I've got my long-running hang-ups, I can't deny that Usher effectively succeeded in what he was trying to do. So yeah, generally enjoyable listen. I'd love to see him live. Good stuff. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more reviews, please be sure to like, share, drop some comments, and subscribe, especially for die-hard Usher fans. I'm curious where y'all are going to fall on this, because again, everything post-Confessions has been wildly uneven. I'm curious where you might rank this. I'm still struggling with it. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if you want to get projects on my schedule going forward, or just argue with me on my Discord or support the channel, link to my Patreon right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times, I understand, but the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.